So I ain't done a video like this in a while. Let's dive into it, shall we? Hey guys, welcome to Rolling with T-Bone. If you're new here, welcome in. We invite you to check out this video and check out some of our others. If you like what you see, maybe consider subscribing to our channel. If you're old here, welcome back. You know what's going on as we dive into tonight's episode. I hope y'all enjoy. So I know what you're sitting there thinking if you're watching this. T-Bone, you do this all the time. What are you talking about? I don't really have a topic, guys. I just wanted to get out and ride, and I rode yesterday with Milkman and Jay Bird and John, and we went out and we had a great ride. No cameras, just cruising around. I took the camera, didn't even turn it on. But I've been wanting to shoot one of these videos now, and I've been thinking about it about the last 3 weeks pretty hard. Just a video where I try to come to some kind of answer to a question, because it's not really a subjective video like I normally put out of other. But Hooligan, Recycled Hooligan, the one who's always making me think, he asked a question in the comments a couple videos back. He brought it up, and he said the question, what makes you you? And I gotta tell you, Hooligan, I've been rolling that around in my head now for a long time. Is it the motorcycles that makes us us? Because that's a broad question. What makes you you? And I think it's kind of because with me, and now of course I can only answer this question for me. It's over time with me, motorcycles have always been a prevalent part of my life. They've always been there. I've always ridden. I've always loved motorcycles. There's never been a time in my life where I thought, man, I'll just walk away from motorcycles. But I think what makes me me is something that has evolved, well, over a lifetime. Because if you go back, I don't know, 47-year-old today, if you go back to 15-year-old T-Bone, I don't think 15-year-old T-Bone had a clue. I just knew kind of at a young age, and of course, when you're young, you're molded by the environment that you grow up in. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's according to how you look at it, my life has been, I always say, and y'all can tell I'm struggling with this because I want to say it the way I really feel it. I always say the first 20 years of my life wasn't nothing to tell anybody about and wish upon them. But after I met R1 and got married, she made the second 20 years, her and my kids made the second 20 years, that paid for the first 20 years. I'll just put it that way. But I reached the point, and of course I'm not going to rehash out all my past because I've done that in other videos. You can go back and watch it. I got to a point where I knew the drinking wasn't helping me. I knew the drugs wasn't helping me. And guys, you got to think, I lived a lot from the age 16 to 20. Those 4 years, I don't even remember 2 of those years. But I can remember when I kind of I woke up one morning and it was like the haze was clearing, and I'll never forget it. I was kind of, I put out a thing on Facebook years ago that said, who knew rock bottom had a basement? I was definitely in the basement of rock bottom. I looked out and I tried to see my future, and it wasn't there. I didn't see any calmness. I didn't see anything that was there that I could hang a hat on. Certainly when I was a teenager, I lost those years. Don't regret it. I mean, and that's why I say, I always try to say, I never live with regrets, because at the time it was exactly what I wanted. So, but I remember waking up it was just one morning. I just woke up and I was like, you know what? This isn't working. I don't, you kind of get to the point where you wake up and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I remember I was at my aunt's house in Ducktown, and I had just woke up, and I went and I took a shower, and I came back, and she had fixed me some breakfast, and I was just kind of sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was rolling everything over in my mind, and she knew there was something on my mind, but she wasn't going to ask me about it. And I don't know, the switch flipped, and I was like, because I had said it in another video, older video I put out, I had kind of reached that point that I had love in my heart. Through everything that I had went through with my mom and watching my dad do what he did to his life, I could have went hard-hearted. I could have been in prison. I could have done a lot of different things, but I was sitting there and I kept thinking to myself the whole time, that there's got to be more to it than this, if that makes sense. There's got to be more to living than just existing. And guys, at the time that I had that epiphany, I was just existing, and I wasn't existing in a real good place. I'm not going to lie to you. So I got up, I dusted myself off, and the first thing I knew is I had to change the people in my life. I had to change hanging out with them. I had to get away from the people who were bringing me down. And I knew exactly who they were, and I knew that they were going to be hard feelings. There was no way that I could pull this off and keep relationships intact. I knew I was going to have to cut some people out of my life, and so I did. I did it immediately, actually. I kind of disappeared, and I went and got me some work. Went to my dad, very humbled, and I said I had went to the finance company, and they were going to give me the loan. I was going to be the primary on the loan, and I said, I'm not asking you to go borrow money. I said, I just need a co-signer. And I guess I just caught him in a good mood. He said, yeah. He said, as long as you're the one getting the loan, I will co-sign. So I went to the finance company, and I bought a 1983 Pontiac Trans Am, a kid Knight Rider edition. The kid who had it didn't want it. It needed a few things done to it, things that he didn't know how to do. He just didn't know what he had, I'll just be honest with you. Or maybe he did, and like I say, he just didn't want to fool with it. But I ended up buying that Trans Am. Ended up going to work at the Waffle King. And that's where I ended up reconnecting with R1, is we were both working at the Waffle King, or Waffle House, not Waffle King. And it was the 4th of July of 1997. Of course, I've told y'all the story about taking her out. And I set out to start, and now when I tell you I changed, guys, I didn't wholesale change over. It took a little time, and really when she got pregnant with our oldest daughter Cheyenne, that was when I really changed. That was when, you know, no more kid stuff. Now I'll have a mouth to feed. I have someone besides R1 dependent on me. But you know, you can ask, and I'm not saying this trying to be mysterious or anything like that. You can ask 10 different people who I am, and you will get 10 different answers, because there's nobody, and R1 knows this, she knows it. There is nobody in my life, including her, that knows everything there is to know about me. You know exactly what I want you to know. And that comes from a place of when I was in a place in my life when I felt like nobody was for me. The world was out to get me. I was on my own in the world, it felt like. So I adopted the mentality of, and this is a bad mentality to have, so if you're listening to this and you're into this place, there is hope, there is light, but you got to kind of find it inside yourself. But I was in a place where I was literally saying, screw the world, I'm going to get them before they get me. That was my whole mentality. And man, what a bad place to be, guys. What a dark. And y'all have heard me mention this before in past videos when I've said I've been in that pitch black place, just no light whatsoever. I've been there. You know, and some of the people in my life from my younger days will probably tell you that I thrived when I was there, because I was clear about who I was. I was clear about what I was going to do, and I was also very, very clear about what I wasn't going to do. I didn't take too much lip. You know, giving me advice is liable to get you cussed out kind of situation. But there were people that stood there. They knew that I was going through hard times. They knew that I was in a very bad place. And yeah, they probably wanted to kill me a couple of times, but they understood that I had to I had to find all the pieces and get them to line up. And anybody who has ever been through something like that knows exactly what I'm talking about. Things don't just fall into place as badly as you want them to. Sometimes things just don't fall into place. You have to get all the pieces together, and then sometimes it takes you a little bit to figure them out and get them arranged where they fit together, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. But I have always been very headstrong, even to this day. You know, I'm kind of, I'm set in my ways, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if there's something that does not need to be said, you can almost guarantee that's the first thing I'm going to say. Because I'm not one for, I'm not real good at skirting around issues and, you know, stuff like that. I'm pretty well much straightforward, in your face about things. You know, it is kind of that situation that I think about sometimes when I see people going through things, and I don't try to just tell them, hey, this is what you need to do, but I try to just give them a little bit of advice and say, hey, you know, I was going through something like this one time, and this is what helped me. Not saying it'll help you, but you know, it's something for you to think about, because I remember what I was like as a younger person, and the way I still am today. Hell, who am I trying to kid? I really don't like people telling me what to do, because I'm 47 years old and I have pretty well much made it this far by making my own decisions. Now, some of the decisions I made, I did things the hard way. I did some things the really, really hard way, but I did them my way, unapologetically my way sometimes. And you know, I think about that, and that's why that question that Hooligan asked rolls around in my head so much, is because it's really not an easy question to answer, because I have evolved in my life so many times. I'll be known as a wrestler. The wrestling friends that I have, they will remember that. My kids will remember that. I'll always be remembered probably by everybody for motorcycles. But you know, I think that we evolve, and I think we grow. And you know, one of the things I think about when we talk about life's lessons and learning lessons is that if we learn the moral of the lesson, if we learn that thing that's attached to the lesson, then nothing's ever done in vain, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, why, yeah, at the time it may not have been a popular decision to do this, that, and the other. And yeah, it might have blew up in your face, but you came out on the other side of it. Maybe you're just a little bit better of a person because of it. But I've got to slide over here to town real quick, guys, and get me something to drink. The pollen count's like, I don't know, I can see the yellow in the air. But I'm going to grab me something to drink, and then we'll continue on with this conversation. So y'all hang tight just a split second. But anyway, guys, back to the subject at hand here. Yeah, that's, you know, it's what makes you you. You know, I think you have to put over a time, or not put over a time, but you have to make it all relative to time. You know, when I was young, of course, it would have been wrestling, it would have been drag racing with my buddies, it would have been a lot of bad things going along with that. But in my later life, I would like, you know, my three greatest achievements has always been my kids. Cheyenne, Nico, and TJ are my three greatest achievements. They are the three proudest moments of my life. My kids are, without a doubt, my proudest moments. And I'm very proud of all three of them, and I stand in awe of all three of them all the time at their abilities and the things that they can do. And you know, I look at TJ and I see so much of myself in him, but I also see his mom's attributes and her you know, her ability. R1 has an ability to look at a thing and she can kind of tell you what's going to happen, why it's going to happen. Where me, I just, you know, I don't have grace sometimes about things. I'm more of brute force, where she is finesse. But yeah, I mean, I think my three kids, I think that would, if I wanted to say what's my legacy, I would hope that to my three kids that I tried to do my best to be a dad to them. And not always done it perfectly. I don't think anybody who's ever set out on the journey of becoming a parent and being a parent has done it perfectly. I think we all have our moments of self-doubt when it comes to our kids and to our marriages and to life in general. But you know, you take into all that stuff into account. you know, it kind of goes back to that old philosophy where people will say, well, are you living for a good funeral, or are you living to be remembered? You know, I've always been one of those guys that said, when I finally die, whatever that is, whatever time the Lord has designated as my time to come, you know, home, hopefully I make it there. I want them to walk up to the casket and look at me and go, hey, damn, he lived. You know, I believe what I'm about to say. I believe this very, very wholeheartedly. You preach your funeral as you're living with the life that you lived. I think the life you lived is your testimony. And I would hope that, you know, by the time I get to the end of my life, like with Freemasonry, when I became a Mason, those guys seen what I was all about, and they have entrusted me on 2 separate occasions to run the lodge. And you know, they've trusted me to be an intricate part of it and to make decisions, and I take it very seriously. But I hope at the end of my life that it is said of me that he tried to help people when he could. He was a good person, not always good to get along with, but I just hope they say, hey, he was a good guy. You know, I'm not no superstar, I'm not no legend, I'm not no icon. I'm just a guy who decided he wanted to do a few things in life, and fortunately I was able to do them, such as wrestling and being a firefighter for 18 years, and, you know, being a Freemason, and now shooting motorcycle content on YouTube. And I've always just kind of looked at things not as hurdles, but just the next thing I want to do. But I hope that's what happens, because I'll tell you, people get caught up, and now this is kind of funny because it could pertain to a current situation, but it really don't. But I kind of feed off people. God, this is going to sound bad, guys, and I can't make it not sound bad. But I kind of feed off of people not liking me, if that makes sense. I'm not one of these guys who thinks that everybody has to like me. And I don't know if this comes from the wrestling thing. I'm laughing, it ain't funny, but it kind of gets me giggly sometimes. When people don't like me, to me, and now this is probably just me because I don't know if anybody else thinks like me, but when people don't like me, that just kind of gives me the freedom to say, okay, well then I didn't have to go through the trouble of not liking you first. Oh my God, dude, that's, you know, I'm not, and I say it in every video, guys, I'm not for everybody. I really am not for everybody. I really am not for everybody. Because I'll tell you how to kiss my ass, and I'll show you the diagram on how to do it, because I really don't care what you think. Do I want to be liked by people? Do I want people to feel comfortable and to think that they can talk to me? Sure, yeah. I mean, that's, you know, that's always a great feeling, because you might be able to help people. But do I go home and lose sleep over the people who don't like me? Absolutely not. I take it as a blessing and I move on about my business. But, you know, that may go back to the pro wrestling days there. But, you know, when somebody tells me to kick rocks, that's just hilarious to me, because they really don't understand that I really don't care. But I've been kicked out of a lot of people's lives, a lot of better people's lives, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because I could really dig into something right here, but I'm not going to. It ain't worth it. But I've got, it's kind of like, goes back to, I don't know if any of y'all know who Kevin Nash is. But Kevin Nash said something years ago that kind of still rings true today. Now, be careful who you pick on, because they might have more ammunition than you. And, I've always kind of kept that rattling around in the back of my mind, that you might want to make sure you want to pick on that person before you actually start picking on that person. In other words, make sure it's worth it. But, yeah, man, that's kind of a good moniker to live by. Well, guys, I had to pull over and work on the camera just a little bit. That's weird. I hope the audio's been coming in. But anyway, if I hadn't, I'll just talk over it, I guess. We were out riding yesterday, like I said. Oh, excuse me, and I had Jazz here. And I got gas, and I didn't get it at my usual spot, and I think I've got me a good run of bad gas. So I'm gonna have to get this ran out and get me some good gas put back in it. But yeah, there it is, Hooligan. I just hope I can be remembered as a good guy that tried to help people when they needed it, and who was a good husband and a good dad, and tried to be a good friend. And I think what defines me is just a life lived. When I get there, they say, well, he lived his life. He lived it to the fullest, to the best of his ability. So, man, I tell you, that's one of them head scratchers there, Hooligan, that you came up with. What makes you, you? So now I want to see, I'm going to challenge the rest of you, Key Fob, those of you with channels, Key Fob, Key Fob's usually, and the reason I say Key Fob is because Key Fob is usually quick at answering. But Buck Brown, Moto, Sick, all you guys who watch the channel who have your own platforms, what makes you, you? What makes you, you? And I guess simplistically, if I just wanted to give one simple answer, it would just be, I've just tried to live. I live to the best of my ability. I just try to live. But I don't think I'm defined, and I guess what I'm really trying to say is I don't think I'm defined by just one thing. And man, that was a long way to go around getting to that answer, wasn't it? That I'm just not defined by one thing. A lot of rambling. But yeah, boy, guys, I'll tell you, spring, and if you're in real time, this is Saturday, the day after Good Friday. I have an episode coming up tonight at 6:30. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Of course, this is WrestleMania weekend for the wrestling fans. Easter weekend. Remember that He is risen. That's always something to remember. Jesus came back on the third day like He said He would. So, but I tell you what, guys, I think that's it. Hooligan, I don't know, brother, if I did any justice on that question or not, but there it is, the best that I can answer it. But I love you, Hooligan. I mean, you're one of those guys that's here for me all the time, and I try to be there for you. And you're always making me think. You're always making me scratch my head because you're always coming up with good stuff. You're always coming up with good stuff, and I think that's, that's what makes you unique, is that you're always thinking. You're always thinking, and man, what a great thing to be. Somebody who can see something and think about it and kind of get to the different parts of it. And I think that's what makes you awesome, Hooligan, is that very thing right there. Well, one of the things I think that makes you awesome, but very humble. But I love the way you think. You think about things, and you come at it from different angles than what other people do, and that's just a gift. That is an absolute gift. But Alright guys, I think I'm going to call this episode done. I'm going to go home. We got ham and some boiled eggs and some cabbage and all kinds of good stuff for Easter. And I think I'm going to watch some WrestleMania tonight after we get done with the premiere. But guys, until the next time, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And hey, thanks for watching.